and it looked like Charlotte was ready to lay down. Portland was going to come in on the road, pick up an impressive win. But this Charlotte Hornets team, which just a couple of days ago had the best offensive rating in basketball, it looked like they were knocked down to earth by the Miami Heat on Friday, and you're saying, all right, that was just a mirage the first 2 weeks of the season that they were, with Chicago as the best team in the East. But I'll tell you what, this is an impressive win tonight.
It is, and the reason why is the balanced scoring, and also you get Lamelo back playing. A lot of times you get a Terry Rozier back. He's going to play well. He's going to take shots offensively. Then you get Lamelo playing well. Kelly Oubre, the guy has been carrying you. He seems like he gets left out. He doesn't have as many points. But Miles Bridges still had a fantastic game. So they're starting to get solid contributions from 4 or 5 guys offensively. And I love the size they have. You start off with a 6-7 point guard, and then you start to have other guys. Might not be the biggest team as far as the center spot.
Right.
But everything in between, they have pretty good size.
Yeah, Bridges tonight, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists. And the assists were the big number tonight. 36 assists on 46 made field goals, including 20 made threes.
That means the ball is moving, it's finding itself in the right hands. When you look at this young team, you sort of compare them to the Atlanta Hawks that built organically through the draft, give these guys some playing time, watch them develop. If you look at Bridges right now, the way he stepped up his game, Lamelo Ball basically stepping up his game, basically proving that last year wasn't a fluke, the rookie of the year. This is just such a good sign for the Hornets. And now you're mixing in the veterans. You're bringing Terry Rozier there. Obviously you have Gordon Hayward. So it's a good blend. I said a while ago, I think this could be the best and maybe most exciting team in the Michael Jordan ownership era.
Well, I don't know if that's that bold of a statement, though, right? I mean, how many teams do you have to pick from?
Exactly. Well, Kemba Walker has, they had a nice
Sean,
run.
You got me with that one, Sean.
But Kemba Walker.
Hot take of the night. Do we have sirens and flames to go off?
All right. But
there haven't been too many playoff games.
If you've gone through what this franchise has gone through, and the fans basically having a team they can really cheer about and also entertain. That's the fact. You can be good, but if you are good and entertain, that's pretty good.
And Brendan Haywood's calling in and saying, what about the teams I played on when they were the Bobcats?
I played for the Bobcats as well.
Yeah, you had 9 games with them, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a few games with them. Didn't win a lot. But I think this is a team I look at as a now and future. A lot of teams, sometimes you say, this is it. They have a window of 1 or 2 years. I think they can make the playoffs this year, do some damage. Not sure they can get past the second round.
Right.
They have some talent. But you just look at what they have, the young pieces, along with the veterans, you say, I think this is a team that, down the future, this is a well-put-together team right now for Michael Jordan and his Charlotte Hornets.
Real quick on the Blazers here. Interesting scheduling here to have just a 3-game East Coast trip this early in the season.
From that far.
From Portland, right, where you played a home game a couple of nights ago on Friday against Memphis, and then you turn around tomorrow night and you play in Philadelphia.
And Damian Lillard, 5 for 20 from the field, 2 of 14 from three-point range. You thought maybe he turned the corner from his slow start. This is a little bit of a setback.
I just see Portland, their margin of error is slim.
Yep.
Injuries, they can't have anybody be injured. They have to be on all cylinders. The backcourt has to be playing well. I just feel there's so much pressure on Dame Lillard and C.J. McCollum. If those guys get 17 and 19, they struggle. I mean, there's got to be some games where those guys just can't carry their entire load offensively, where it's got to be a third guy or a fourth guy that can step up. Nurkic is a guy I think I want to see a little bit more from him, and I know Norman Powell's been hurt, but they need something from Robert Covington. They need some guys more to be a little bit more assertive on the offensive end.
But this is the way it's been since Damian Lillard has been there, with the exception of LaMarcus Aldridge there. I mean, it's just the same thing every year. And this is the one thing that he sort of complained about this summer when he talked about maybe wanting to move on. Obviously, he changed course, but we're seeing it again this year. Now, C.J. McCollum has played very well, has stepped up into the A role while Dame has struggled. But what has really changed with this team, other than bringing, Nance in? Obviously, Nurk had a good year so far rebounding the ball, but he's not that big scorer, Steve, that you talked about, that missing piece. And it doesn't look like they're going to have that third wheel this season.
Yeah, they miss Carmelo Anthony. I mean,
yeah.
Here's a guy that we know could come off the bench and give them a punch, 10 to 12 minutes at a time. Right now, missing him, and then you have some injuries. It puts so much pressure on Dame and CJ. I was talking about pick and rolls. If you're playing the Portland Trailblazers right now, you hedge and you hold the hedge now. You let the roller come down, the guy from the corner picks him up, and you dare them to throw the ball to the guy in the corner. And I think that's what's making CJ and Dame struggle, because coming off pick and rolls, they don't have any guy that's taking really the offensive threat away from them. They're just holding the hedge, making those guys work one-on-one.
Norman Powell did play tonight. He had 14. Anthony Simons, good game off the bench, 19, but not much else there in the supporting role for the Portland Trailblazers. We're still awaiting word on LeBron James tonight. He is officially a game-time decision. Anthony Davis will play. The Lakers will host the Rockets in just about 1 hour from right now. We'll take you up to tip and talk about that game and discuss all that you need to know about the Lakers as they try and put it together for a second consecutive night. Meanwhile, earlier today, however, Frank Vogel has announced that Anthony Davis will suit up tonight against the Rockets. Let's talk about this performance tonight by the Utah Jazz. Again, as I mentioned, you could really say with Milwaukee, they're playing without 4 of their 5 starters. So that certainly is indicative of some of the offensive numbers that they've put up over the last couple of games.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they've struggled. The one thing is I look at for the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis is getting a lot of double teams, which is good. He never really played through double teams because of the spacing and the players he's usually on the court with. But now they're having to move bodies. All these guys that usually will have to play lesser minutes are starting to play more minutes. I think for them was shot selection down the stretch. But give a lot of credit. As you can see, this is not a hard double team, but Rudy Gobert stepped over, making it hard for Giannis to just get downhill, making him shoot jump shots. And he hit a lot of jump shots. He's played well. They didn't have enough, though, Jared shot down the end to be able to fend off the Utah Jazz. To me, the Utah Jazz defense was phenomenal down the stretch. Royce O'Neal, Jordan Clarkson, and Rudy Gobert, those guys did an excellent job defensively. And Mike Conley had 20 points. We were looking for that second score. But I'm harping on it all year. Rudy Gobert has to take more shots.
Yeah, he only took 3 of them tonight, had 9 points, 13 rebounds. But as Smitty talked about, Sean, the Jazz came into tonight short, small sample size, but kind of a indication of what they've done over the last few years. They're the second best defensive team in the NBA so far.
Well, look, I know Milwaukee's missing some key players and everything, but if you're Utah, you're like, so what?
Right.
We just came to your house and beat the defending NBA champions. On Halloween, they threw eggs in Milwaukee's house, basically.
Wasn't that mischief night? Wouldn't that have been last night?
Oh. But
maybe they did things a little different where you grew up.
Yeah, well, if you look at the guards, the guard play for Utah was very impressive.
Yeah.
Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley, and Donovan Mitchell wouldn't be denied, in the fourth quarter, down the stretch. When Milwaukee showed some heart, came back, Giannis was a little shaky in terms of his health, but they came back. Donovan Mitchell took the game in his hands and won it for Utah.
Yeah, Donovan had 11 fourth quarter points. Smitty, it kind of feels a little bit like Utah is this year's version of who the Bucks were last year in terms of chip on their shoulder. Prior to last year, the Bucks had the best record in basketball in 2 consecutive seasons, but were eliminated early from the playoffs, much like the Jazz last year, who had the best record in basketball and eliminated early in the playoffs. This team is playing motivated this year, and I think a lot of that is not just the external pressures and expectations, but internally as well, what they have put on them on their own shoulders.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, the last 2 or 3 years, they've been in the top 5 defensive ratings and offensive ratings, and again this year. And I think, just like you said, like the Milwaukee Bucks, people are starting to just say, well, we like the Utah Jazz, they'll be there. But I think for them is, internally, like you said, Jared, they have to put pressure on themselves. They have to get better. They understand what they have to do. They've been down there. They haven't got over that mountain. What I do like, I like the addition of Whiteside. That gives them another big body. And I like the way they're playing. I like if Mike Conley can stay healthy, how he's been able to run the show. But it's going to come down to me is still, how long can Rudy Gobert be on the floor and be effective offensively for them? And he doesn't have to have touches. He's just got to take more shots and get to the free throw line and get points.
All right.
Be more of a threat.
We're going to talk more about the Jazz, who right now are looking like the best team of the Western Conference 2 weeks into the season. We'll also talk more about the Bucks. But I want to show you some frustration boiling up for